All right, you just watched a video talking a lot about the muscular system, so let's go over some of the content from this video. What are the three types of muscle tissue? Do you remember? Hopefully you do. It is cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, and smooth muscle. Let's go over those in a little bit more detail. So we have skeletal muscle, which attaches to bones with tendons. Tendons are tough, strong, connective tissue. Skeletal muscle is voluntary, meaning I decide, I control it. Skeletal muscles produce heat just in normal everyday motion, but also think about it when we're shivering. Skeletal muscles help us control our posture. They protect our internal organs and are striated or striped, as you can see in this slide. See those stripes? Then we have cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscles only in the heart. It is involuntary. It requires a constant supply of O2, which is oxygen. So that means without oxygen, cardiac muscle cells will begin to die within about 30 seconds. Skeletal muscle is also striated. See the stripes here? Well, what they also have are these intercalated discs. So they appear as these dark lines right here, connections between cardiac muscle cells. And then finally, we have smooth muscle. Smooth muscle lines blood vessels and organs like our intestines, as well as the uterus. Smooth muscle is also involuntary. And unlike the other two types of muscle, smooth muscle heals well. It has no striations, and it can contract for a long time. Now, something that all muscles have in common is they're made of bundles called fibers. So they receive signals from the nervous system, whether they're in voluntary control or in involuntary control. Now, there are different types of contractions. One is concentric. Concentric is when the muscle fibers shorten or contract. Now, concentric and eccentric work together to generate opposing forces. So if I'm talking about my bicep and it contracts, right? My tricep on this side has to elongate. So I have contraction on this side and elongation on this side. But when I stretch my arm out like this, I have my tricep contracting and my bicep elongating. So this concentric, eccentric, concentric, eccentric. So eccentric is when the muscle fibers elongate, right? So again, if we model this, focusing on the bicep, concentric, eccentric. If we focus on the tricep right now, it is concentric, eccentric. So my bicep is in concentric, my tricep is in eccentric. My tricep is in concentric, my bicep is in eccentric. So they work together to generate those opposing forces. I remember it like this. Concentric, contract. It takes up less space, it shortens. Eccentric, it elongates, it lengthens, it gets longer. Then we have one more type called isometric. So in isometric, the muscle fibers don't change in length, but that doesn't mean they're not working, they're not contracting. What they do is create a stabilizing force. So like when you're leaning or gripping or to maintain your posture. So holding this arm out like this, if I am not doing anything, I'm now in isometric, but it's going to take some effort to do that. That is an isometric contraction. About 30 to 40% of our body mass comes from muscles. We have over 650 muscles. The smallest muscle in our body is the stapedius muscle. And look at it, it attaches to the stapes in our middle ear. Now, what are the two types of muscle fibers? Let's talk about them. We have fast twitch and we have slow twitch. What does that mean? Well, fast twitch are ideal for quick bursts. Okay. Why? Because they quickly tire out. They use less oxygen. They're less vascular. So those two tie together. Think about it. Less blood vessels use less oxygen. The cells themselves have less mitochondria and they appear lighter in color. So it's useful for sprinting, for jumping, for things that require quick bursts of energy. Fast twitch. The alternative to fast twitch is slow twitch. Slow twitch fibers are ideal for endurance because they can contract for long periods of time. They require a lot of oxygen, so they're very vascular, and that's why they are darker in color. They have many mitochondria to make use of all that oxygen. Okay? And they're ideal for like running a marathon, something that requires endurance. So if you are a person who is a sprinter, you're going to have lots and lots and lots of fast twitch, less slow twitch. If you are a long distance runner, like a marathon runner, you have lots and lots and lots and lots of slow twitch, less of the fast twitch. Middle distance runners, they're going to have kind of an even mix of the two. About how many times does your heart beat in a lifetime? Well, by age 32, your heart has beat about 1 billion times. So if you live until you're 64, 2 billion times. A lot. What are some functions of the skeletal system? Let's talk about them. So movement, this should be a relatively obvious function, right? So we have voluntary movement that's under our conscious control, and those pull on our bones. But we also have involuntary movement, not under our conscious control. And that moves things like food and urine and blood through our body. It also contracts the uterus to give birth. But besides movement, our skeleton also serves to maintain our posture and balance. It also generates body heat. It's why when you exercise, you feel warm. It's also why we shiver when we are cold. So it helps to maintain our body temperature. So the contractions of our skeletal muscles are literally necessary to maintain our normal body temperature. Hopefully you remember what that normal body temperature is. Yeah, it's 37 degrees Celsius, right? We don't typically say the F word, right? But it would be 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Our skeletal muscles provide about 85% of the warmth needed for our bodies. The muscular system also contributes to body shape. You know, people who have more muscles in certain areas, the shape of their body is different. Probably have heard somebody refer to someone with six-pack abs, right? Here we can clearly see this trapezius muscle. The skeletal muscles also provide some protection. So you can see here we have bones, but we also have internal organs. And our skeletal muscles provide a barrier in between those and also between our organs and the superficial surface of our skin to provide some protection. Our muscles also guard the entrances and exits to our body. Now, we can obviously close or open our mouth, but we have sphincters, which are under a voluntary control and made of skeletal muscle that control openings of the urethra and the anus as well. So although there are smooth muscles involved, there are skeletal muscles as well. Skeletal muscles serve to stabilize joints. Okay, so joints, remember, the anatomical term is articulation. It's where bones meet. And not only do we have ligaments holding bones together, we have muscles that are connecting bones together, going from one bone to another, even on the same bone sometimes, okay? But they serve to stabilize a joint. Now, let's review the 3 types of muscle contractions. Remember those? So if we were in class, you would point to the correct answer in your notes, but let's see if you remember. So remember, just as a refresher, we have concentric, right? Bicep concentric, bicep eccentric, and if I hold it here, isometric, okay? What type of muscle contraction do you think this length illustrates? Yeah, isometric. What type of muscle contraction is illustrated here? Concentric, right? And what kind of muscle contraction here? Yeah, eccentric. What kind of muscle contraction is illustrated here? Eccentric. What kind of muscle contraction is illustrated here in this wall sit? Isometric. What kind of muscle contraction is illustrated here? Concentric. What kind of muscle contraction is illustrated here? Concentric. And we're going to finalize this lesson with a couple of videos that introduce muscular dystrophy, which is the topic for our storyline. So you're going to watch 2 videos, take some notes, and I'm going to ask a little bit about those afterward.